Hi there, my name's Shane, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Deity V-Mic D3 Pro. It's been my primary microphone for basically everything for the last couple years now, and I've really enjoyed using it. And in this video I'm going to talk about all the things I like, dislike, and why I might recommend it as a microphone you should consider. I'll start off with saying I'm no audio engineer or expert in the field of anything microphone related. I'm going to be coming at this review from the perspective of an average kind of content creator. I mainly shoot weddings and commercial video, as well as just content for this channel and just personal projects. So I hopefully can give you a good holistic perspective of kind of everyday use for an average user. However, if you have any questions or any insights that I missed in this video, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd be happy to answer any of your questions as best as I can. I'll start off with just talking about the key features of this microphone. And fundamentally, it has a Super-Cardioid pickup pattern, which means it's useful in a lot of different situations. It has an internal battery that gives you access to having controllable levels, as well as a built-in limiter. And the battery life itself lasts a very long period of time, which means you don't need to worry about it too much. And lastly, it has a very solid build quality and, relatively speaking, quite a compact size and is rather robust, meaning it's quite portable and can kind of go with you everywhere you need to go with it. On that note, I'll discuss the build of the microphone, and the main chassis of it is made of solid metal that has very nice tolerances and is clearly well made. It's obviously not weather sealed in any sort of way, it's a microphone. However, it's certainly robust and definitely could sustain a lot of impact if you were to be a little aggressive with it. On the back end of it, there's a nicely dampened dial for controlling your levels, which has a little demarcated line as well as this guard on either side to prevent you from accidentally turning it while in use. On the side of it, there's a standard 3.5mm headphone jack, which I'll get into a little bit more later, as well as a USB Type-C charging port, which is excellent because you can charge it quite quickly. There's only one button on the microphone, which you just hold down to turn on, and then it's also the controls for your limiter, so you just tap that to turn on your certain limiting levels, which is, again, quite convenient to have. The included shock mount with it is pretty standard. It has 2 points of connection, which is obviously required for a microphone of this size and weight, and it does a very adequate job. On the bottom of it, there is a sliding adjustable cold shoe mount, which is thankfully made of metal and very convenient to use. Again, I do find it can slide a little bit too easy, which can be annoying, but if you crank it down with a set of pliers, it's much harder to adjust, which is actually kind of a good thing in this application. On the bottom of it, there is a 3/8 thread hole for attaching various accessories, and I always just put a 1/4-20 thread in there often, but it makes it convenient for attaching to boom arms, or if you're going to put it on a different part of your rig rather than in a cold shoe mount. But it can attach into a cold shoe mount if you so desire, and is quite convenient and pairs quite nicely with a lot of cameras like this. So it's extremely adjustable and versatile in different applications. If you desire to though, you can also get a separate adapter to make it easier to attach onto a boom arm normally. I did not opt to purchase this because it just was a little cheaper and easier for me to just thread it onto whatever I was using. The included foam acoustic dampener that comes with it, I find is borderline useless and quite frankly feels more like a branding item for marketing rather than actually a functional device. And unfortunately, it does not come by default with a dead cat, which I found was rather peculiar, but thankfully online I found this dead cat, which is actually designed for its competition, the Rode NTG mic. However, it fits quite nicely on here, so it works well. And I find when a dead cat is placed on this mic, as well as using the limiter, you can shoot in a lot of really unpredictable environments, which is super convenient. And I find that it's a great combination to have a dead cat for this mic. Circling back now though, I want to talk about the headphone jack, and it connects to your camera via a slightly different than normal cable, and it uses a TRRS cable, which still goes into a 3.5mm headphone jack, but it resembles the type of headphone jack that you might actually use for the old headphones with microphones on them. that would plug into like old iPhones before they got rid of that. But the idea here is that it can transmit just a little bit more information from your camera to the microphone, and it basically can tell you the power status of the camera. So when the camera is turned off, the microphone can turn off, which is great for battery life. Though I do find this to be a little bit annoying when you want to connect it to some other devices. And I find its compatibility with things like external audio recorders like an Atomos Ninja 5 or H1N can be hit and miss. And you can always plug in a standard headphone jack into here or have this weird TRRS to standard kind of style adapter cable. But overall, I find it to be an added value of being able to have those smart features of going on standby mode, but it's not necessarily perfect for every application, especially if you're using something like a external monitor where this might not be as useful. So it's 100% still works with those devices, but I find sometimes it can have a few hiccups along the way when you actually try and record, and it can go into standby mode occasionally when you don't expect it to. So it's very useful for when you're using a regular camera, but with external recorders, it's not as valuable as you would have expected it to be, perhaps. But moving on though, it's time to talk about the audio quality. And again, I'm not an audiophile, so really it's good for all my applications, and I find it's particularly useful when you do put it on a boom arm. It captures great audio and isolates your subject quite nicely, so I've really loved it for that application. Though overall it's provided excellent quality for what I expected from it when I purchased it, and I'll have some examples going on now. So this is what the microphone sounds like when mounted directly on top of the camera. I'm about a meter away from the camera. I'm using a 35mm. There is no acoustic foam or dead cat on the microphone, and this room is by no means dampened in any sort of way. Everything in here is a reflective object of some sort. So it's kind of a pretty bad scenario for operating a microphone in, and this is just a sample of how it sounds without anything done to it. So here we are again in the same room, but rather than having the microphone mounted on top of the camera, I have it on a boom arm just above me out of frame here. And hopefully this gives you a good idea of how the microphone sounds in, again, a very poor acoustic environment. Usually that's where this microphone would come into play, because you just want a mic that can get it done reliably, and I find this works really well. A good little hack for when you actually want to hook this up wirelessly is if you plug it into a wireless microphone kit, you can throw it on a boom arm pretty much anywhere you want in the room, like the Sennheiser or Rode Micro Go kit. Together, having a wireless kit as well as this mic can really tackle a huge range of situations and give you very high quality audio without a ton of effort. So now we're outside, and I just have the dead cat on top of the mic as well as the acoustic foam, and I'm just out here walking my dog. We're just out on the trails in a forest, so a pretty typical environment for using a vlogging setup. But anyways, so this is just an idea of how it sounds, and hopefully it kind of is turning out relatively okay. I'm not a very good vlogger, so I apologize. My arm is getting a little weak for this. This is just how the microphone sounds while you have it locked off on a tripod with the camera a decent distance away from you. This is pretty much the worst case scenario for it, and quite honestly, it's basically useless capturing audio in this way, and I'd highly recommend you using a lavalier or a microphone closer to the subject. But yeah, this is just a kind of demo. It certainly is good at capturing the ambient sound, but not necessarily my voice super clearly as loud as it would otherwise. This is the last scenario I want to demonstrate, and it's kind of a impractical setup, but it's hopefully going to demonstrate my point quite nicely. I'm on top of a hill. It's rather gusty up here and decently windy, so there might be a bit of wind noise, but I'm doing everything to cancel that out. So I have the dead cat on top of the microphone and the low pass filter set to 150. So really it's kind of the best of the worst case scenario. You can hear my voice quite clearly here, and there is going to be some background noise. There's a highway nearby, and obviously the wind and all the ambient sound from the crickets up here. But overall, it's usable audio. And for an on-camera solution, this is quite decent. It's obviously not something you'd want to use on a feature, but for more documentary style work or just casual YouTube videos like this, it's entirely functional, and it's my go-to setup for that reason, and I quite enjoy using it. So in conclusion, overall, I really enjoy using this microphone. I find for the applications I use it for, it's been a great tool and it's performed exactly to my expectations. And quite honestly, the only real gripes I have about it are the fact that it doesn't use a standard 3.5mm headphone jack to plug in, and I wish it wasn't this TRRS design. However, the value of having the standby mode would be good because I always forget to turn it off. However, I kind of just wish it had an on-off toggle on it rather than having to hold down a button, as well as an additional set of lights to show the battery status on it, because as is, having just a LED that changes color isn't the best solution and just can be a little bit annoying to kind of forget when the last time you charged it was. So none of those are deal breakers. They're just the slight minor complaints that I have. Otherwise, overall, it's a fantastic value, and especially coming in at $200 US or 260 Canadian, I really don't think you can go wrong with it. It really performs well for kind of everything that I've thrown at it. So yeah, it's a great mic, highly recommend it, and I hope you found this review valuable. If you have any questions though, again, please feel free to leave the comment below. I'd love to answer anything that you might be wondering, and if you have any insight that you would like to provide that I might have missed in this video, please let me know. And yeah, if you enjoyed the video, maybe consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. It goes a long way and helps me make more videos like this in the future. Anyways, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.